Hi guys, my name is Bobby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm bringing you a book haul. So this got a lot bigger than I expected. I think there's 12 books in this haul. I thought it was smaller, but I guess not. Back before we got into the quarantine, we got our tax turns, so I bought 8 books, and I was like, great, then I'll be able to do a book haul. And then I got my book of the month books, and then a couple other ones here and there that I picked up as I saw them because I was really excited to read them, or books that I've been really excited to read. So I hope you guys are all doing well, faring well. I'm still really busy. I'm still working all the time. My husband's been great. Matt's been cooking every night and taking care of the kids and all that stuff. Technically, would be the end of spring break. If we were still in school, they officially canceled school here for the rest of the year. Don't know about anybody else, but we're officially done. So the kids aren't going back to school. Danielle is taking it really, really hard. She really misses her friends. She's not getting her softball season. So, you know, she's having a hard time not being able to see her friends and being cooped up in the house. I'm just tired of dealing with stupid people. Being an essential worker really sucks sometimes. I've dealt with a lot of stupidity in the last month. A lot of people being jerks. I mean, there are people who are thanking us, but at the same time, it's like, why are you thanking us now? We've been doing this job for years. You're only thanking us now because, you know, you need us. You know, like without us, you wouldn't be able to eat. So, you know, we're kind of balancing in the emotion. I'm just tired. I just want to be able to read. I wish I could get 3 weeks off. If certain things happen that they might make us do, I'm going to take a leave of absence and use up all the sick pay I haven't used in the past 13 years. I haven't called out sick in 5 years. It's the last time I called out sick. So I have a full sick bank. I have 4 weeks worth of sick pay, I think. So yeah. I'll do that if they're going to be like that. If they want to make us do things that I'm not necessarily comfortable doing or just don't want to, I'll pull myself out like everybody else does and just use all the sick pay that I've never used. But I doubt I will do that. We probably won't come to that point. I do like going to work. It's just, I'm tired. I want things to go back to normal. I want my kids to feel normal again. I want to be able to go see my friends. I haven't seen my friends in over a month, and it's really hard. I have like 2 real life friends that I actually see on a regular basis. Talk to them every day, but it's not the same. It's not the same as going out and getting a drink and lunch and like having girl time where you can talk face to face. It's totally different. I know people are doing it online, not the same. But anyways, that's enough of me whining. So all of the books, I really wish I could say I would get to these soon. We all know that's a lie because I'm terrible when it comes to buying books and reading them. These are all books that I really, really want to read. Some of them, one I've already read, 2 I've already read, 1 I'm halfway through. So, I mean, I've started some, but I've bought an entire series and not sure how fast I'm going to get to it because I'm terrible at finishing series. Absolutely awful. So we'll see. But I'm going to do the series first, I think. Okay, so the series, I got 4 books to help complete a series. So remember when I read Red Rising? Yeah, I bought the rest of them. So I got Golden Sun, which is book 2. It comes right after Red Rising. I was going to start it. It is on my Owls TBR. Don't know if I'm going to get to it or not because it's not one of the required reading for my Owls. I'm doing pretty good on my Owls. I did change my TBR up a little bit, kind of rearranged it. I think I've read 4. Let's see, what have I read? 1, 2, 3, maybe I've only read 3 so far. Either way, I'm making progress on the Owls. I'm trying to read as much as possible. Oh, I've read 3. I'm almost done with the 4th. And then I have another one that I'm going to start, another audio I'm going to start. So that'd be 5. So I'm trucking along. This is on my Owls TBR. Do not know if I'm going to get to it or not, but if not, this will probably carry over into May because I really want to finish this series. I really did love Red Rising. The only thing I do not like about this series, and I know it's like a stupid gripe, is the names. The names are very, what am I trying to think? Roman, Greek, very not necessarily hard to say, kind of hard to say and remember because they're so similar. A lot of the names are very similar to each other, so it's kind of hard to remember who's who. And there is a glossary in the front of this one that tells who's who, like the name and what position they hold, but it still is kind of like But if you don't know what Red Rising is, the Red Rising series is going to be 6 books, I think, and 5 are out. And they continue to get thicker and thicker as the story goes. But it's about a guy, what's his name? Blech. It's about a guy named Darrow. Sorry, I'm tired. It's about a guy named Darrow who lives on Mars, and he is what they call a red. In this society, every person is classified by a color, and they're all colors of the rainbow, and each color does different things in the society, and the reds are the bottom. They're the very bottom of the barrel. They're the ones that do the menial jobs. They're your maids, they are your janitors, they are your garbage men. They do all of the crappy jobs. And Darrow is a red that works on Mars underneath the ground, that lives in abject poverty. They are abused, they are treated like shit, and they're pretty much slaves. And they're there to mine a special, what is it, like a helium, type of helium, something like that. I can't remember what it is. A type of gas to help terraform the other planets and stuff like that. Darrow breaks some rules. Him and his wife break some rules. He ends up getting rescued. He gets brought up to the surface of Mars, and he realizes that it's been terraformed and was 300 years ago. And he's been lied to his entire life, and the class of Reds have been lied to for their entire generation, multiple generations, that they have terraformed all of the planets in the solar system and a lot of the moons, and they're using them as slaves to get what they need, to mine the ores and the stuff that they need. Once Darrow gets to the surface, he was abducted or rescued by this rebel group, and they turn him into a gold, which is the highest color in the society. And once he becomes a gold, he infiltrates them, and he's going to try to bring them down from the inside out to pretty much avenge his wife and avenge his people. So this is book 2. From what I understand, I believe it takes place pretty damn close after where Red Rising left off. So you have Golden Sun, and then you have Morning Star. So like if you look at see, here's Golden Sun, Morning Star. Morning Star is quite a bit bigger. It feels bigger in my hand. Golden Sun is just over 400 pages long, 420-ish. Morning Star is 500 and about 100 pages more, like 515. So Morning Star is book 3. And then that finishes the first trilogy. From what I understand, Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morning Star are a trilogy in and of itself. And then the trilogy that takes place afterwards is more of a companion one. But you need to read these before you can read the other ones, because there are characters from multiple that come through. Like Darrow, I know, is in the second one, which he's the main in here. So you kind of need to know what happened. So there's these two. So then after that comes Iron Gold, which is a behemoth. 587, so now it's 100 pages more than the other one. So this is book 4, and then book 5 I believe just came out this year or last year. Maybe I think it came out in 2019, because I remember Pierre like losing her shit over it when it came out. Yeah, 2019. And Dark Age is huge and reflective and very, very big. And this is book 5. And book 6, I don't even know if it has a title yet or when it's coming out. Yeah, this is over 700 pages. 750, so it goes up 150. So this is a big, huge, ginormous one. So I finished this series, so I own it all now. So now I have no excuse not to finish it. Hoping to get to Golden Sun this month. If not, I will definitely get to it. Kind of have a goal where I want to finish this series by the end of the year. Please try to hold me to it. I have a really hard time finishing series for whatever reason, and I don't understand why. I really loved Red Rising. It really surprised me with how much I loved it, and I need to finish it. Like, by the time I get this finished, hopefully book 6 will be close to coming out. So I really need to finish it. So please hold me to it. Like, I'm going to try to finish it by the end of this year. Next book is one that I have already read. I talked about it in my March wrap up, and that's Starling Rose Gold by Stephanie Warble. I bought this because I wanted it. I got it with the 8 books that I bought with my tax return, you know, the treat your shelf. So I got the 4 from the Red Rising trilogy to help, or series, to help complete up to what's been put out. This one I talked about in my March wrap up. This is a fictionalized version of the Gypsy Rose Blanchard story, only it takes what happened in that crime, in that situation, and it makes it its own. It's very different, but also very similar. The names, of course, are similar, but it's different. And I really enjoyed it. I read it in 2 sittings. I highly recommend it if you're curious at all about Munchausen's by proxy. The next one that I bought in that group was Docile by K.M. Sparza. I started this for my owls. Hopefully I can finish it. I am about halfway through. I'm on page 223. So I am about halfway through this book. It's really hard to read. And not in that the writing style's hard. The writing style's fine. The subject matter. So I think I gave a pretty decent description of what this book is. This takes place sometime in the near future. They don't give a year, but it takes place in Maryland and Baltimore City and outside, to where the rich and the poor, there's a huge gap. Like, the middle class is pretty much obliterated. It doesn't really exist anymore at all. And there are very few. The middle class is very, very tiny. You're either very poor or very rich, and the rich are trillionaires. Like, they call them trillionaires, not even billionaires. They're trillionaires. And in this story, the debt crisis is so terrible, and what they've done, like with wealth, like if I die and my dad had a lot of money, then I would inherit his wealth. In this society, which is our society in the future, the same goes for debt. So if your parents have debt, when they die, it goes to you, and so on and so on and so on. So this tells the story of Elisha, who is in a family. He has a dad, a mom, and a sister, and they have $3 million in debt that's been passed on by other family members, and they can't pay it. And if you don't pay it, you go to debtor's jail, where you pretty much sit there and rot, and they take what very little you own. Or you can sell yourself as a docile and go sign up and be a docile, which is pretty much a slave, and a trillionaire, billionaire will buy your debt and pay it off for your family, and then you will serve them as a docile for however long your contract states. So Elisha decides that he's going to do that, and he is going to help pay off his family's debt that way. And in this society, if you become a docile, you have 7 rights that are allotted to you. Most of them are basic human rights, which is really hard to swallow, but makes sense for what it is. Like, you have the right to be healthy. So whoever buys your debt and that puts you under contract, like, they're responsible for your health and well-being. So like, if you break your arm, they have to take care of you. They have to make sure you get medical attention, that kind of stuff. You have a right for shelter, to be fed, sexual health as well. Like, if you are a female and you are bought by a male and they have sex with you, then you have the right to not get pregnant, that kind of thing. You have a right to go visit your family 1 weekend every 6 months for as long as you are a docile. And you also have the right to take or refuse Dosaline. And Dosaline is a drug that when you are injected with it, and I think it's once a week or once every 2 weeks, you pretty much become a complacent zombie and you forget about all the things that are happening to you. So if you're someone's sex slave or whatever, you won't remember it, pretty much. So pretty much wipes away any kind of abuse. Though in this society, you can't really abuse your dociles, because as part of their rights, you have to take care of them, which includes not beating the shit out of them. But they can also punish you. It's interesting. So Elijah decides to become a docile, but he also decides to refuse Dosaline because his mother served 10 years as a docile to get rid of $1 million of their debt. And when she got home and they weaned her off the Dosaline, she still acts like a docile. Her personality's gone. Who she was is gone. She's very, yes sir, no sir, like just kind of blank slate, nothing there. So he doesn't want to be like that. So he says no to the Dosaline. His contract is bought by Alex, his dad owns the company, the pharmaceutical company that creates Dosaline. And then Elijah refuses to take Dosaline. So that kind of creates this kind of and Elijah's contract is for his life. So he is stuck with Alex for the rest of his life. Elijah, I believe, is 20, 21, like very early 20s, late teens, maybe only 19. He's very late teens, early 20s. And so Alex, who is 30, buys his contract for a year, or for the rest of his life, for $3 million. So it kind of goes from there. Trigger warnings for punishment that could be considered abuse, because it is. Sexual assault, rape, slavery. It's dark. Why this is hard to read is because it kind of echoes what's going on right now. I mean, not necessarily with the virus and stuff like that, but the fact that you have the super rich and the super poor, and being forced to do things you don't want to do. And it's just very kind of hit close to home. I binge read, like I got halfway through this in like 2 days, like, and that was with working because it was so good and I couldn't put it down. And then I set it down and I haven't picked it back up in a week. And I think it's because the subject matter is just so hard. I was talking to Monica about it. She's reading it as well. And she said the same thing. It's just very hard to read right now when it kind of, you know, with everything going on. And I know about halfway through the book takes a turn, and kind of goes in a different direction-ish. But this is also one of those books that makes you think, because Elijah and Alex's relationship, I mean, Alex has to break Elijah. Elijah has a spirit. He has will. And now he's being forced to be a slave for Alex, and that includes a sex slave, to where, and he's never had sex before either, so that makes it interesting. Alex has to break him. So make sure that Elijah isn't asking questions when he's not being talked to, and like, it's interesting to watch, but also really sad to watch. And it's hard because you see the relationship developing between these two. Because Elijah has decided not to take Dosaline, he's still there. He's retaining who he is as a person. And so it's very interesting to see the relationship develop between the two, because Alex, even though he trained Elijah to respond like a Dossal, like a slave, and just do whatever he says, you can see a relationship building. I'm talking too much about this. I'm pretty much giving like a review when I'm not even done with it. But yeah, this one I'm really enjoying, but I set it down. Hopefully I can finish it this month. It's just, it was hitting too close to home. So I decided not to. I don't know. We'll see if I pick it back up. But I like that it's making me want to root for something that I know I shouldn't be rooting for. And if you can handle the triggers and you can handle the subject matter, I highly recommend it. Just know it's sexually explicit, male. So if you're not into that or you don't like that, probably steer clear, because it's not like erotica, but the sex scenes are graphic. Next, we'll do the book of the month books. So for the month of, what is it, April? Yes. For the month of April, the first one I picked was Lucy Foley's The Guest List. I have already read this for my Owls TBR. This takes place over 2 days. It is about a wedding, and there's a body. Somebody dies on the wedding day, and it's trying to figure out who died, who did it, and all the secrets that everybody's holding about, you know, why this person got killed. I'll say this without going too far into it, because I don't want to say too much about it, because it's a thriller. You want to go into a thriller pretty much blind, but I'll give you this. I gave it 2 stars. The next book of the month book that I picked for April is Valentine by Elizabeth Wetmore. This seemed appealing. This is a literary fiction. It takes place in the mid to late 1970s, and it's about a girl who I believe is 14. Yep. And her name's Gloria, and on Valentine's Day, she wakes up bloody, muddy, raped in a field, and runs to a woman's house to get help. And this story is told from the 4 different women in the town, from their perspective and how they handle this tragedy. And it's a lot about the time, like about the 70s. I think it's in Texas too, in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Yeah, Odessa, Texas, 1976. So, yeah, she's 14 years old. She was raped, and she knows who did it. And it's about trying to get this man convicted for her rape, especially since she's a 14-year-old girl. But she comes from a poor family. She's also of Latinx descent, so kind of looked down on, like, you don't matter. So it's a lot of that. It just seemed very interesting for it being a historical fiction, because it takes place in the 70s and how women were treated and viewed back then. It was 70s was kind of in the middle, because there was still a lot of bitch get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich, but there was also a lot of women liberating themselves and getting their own careers and doing that as well. So it's kind of in between. And this being a small town Texas, like how they dealt with something like this, it just seemed really interesting. I really hope it's not like that one book I read the other month, Ask Again Yes, where it's all negative and no positive. I hope there's some positive in here. I'm hoping the women, like hearing from the different women. I just hope there's some positive in here. But it just seemed interesting. I couldn't, there's another one that I wanted because there's quite a few good selections for April, but this one just sounded too good to pass up. Let's see. Next, I'll talk about a gift. Monica sent this to me and I was so excited to get it. Thank you so much, Monica. And that's My Jerk Vanessa by Kay Elizabeth Russell. This is getting a lot of hype on BookTube right now. This is, I'm pretty sure it's adult. I doubt it's YA. But this is a story about Vanessa, who, when she was 17, was sexually assaulted by her teacher. They had a sexual relationship for many years. It's about her in the future as an adult and living her life, and somebody accuses her teacher, that teacher, of sexual misconduct or sexual assault with a minor, and she's got to decide whether or not she wants to come forward and testify against him and tell her story. She believed that their relationship was consensual and that it was normal and that they had a love story, and then, you know, they just both moved on. She doesn't seem to realize that what happened to her was gaslighting, grooming, and completely inappropriate and not okay. So from what I've heard, this is a very hard-hitting book. It's, you know, hard to read, but also very, very good, very well written. I've heard nothing but good things about this. Monica said she liked it, but that also was very hard to read, very heavy hitting. So of course there's multiple triggers, sexual assault, rape of a minor, all that kind of stuff, you know, a lot of trauma. So if, you know, please check all the other triggers before going into this if that's something that bothers you. But I just thought it sounded really, really interesting. And it's not something I've ever read before, but I've heard nothing of good things about this. So thank you so much, Monica, for sending it to me. The next one I just heard a couple of people talking about, and it just sounded good. So I got it. I believe it was Pierre's fault. I believe she read it and it sounded good. And that's The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. This is a fantasy that is about, I don't know if it's YA or adult, no idea. It's just about a girl who is supposed to be a sacrifice, and she knew that she was going to be a sacrifice to, I think it's to a god or whatever, and this powerful mage comes up to her and goes, you can be a sacrifice or you can run away with me and I'll train you to be an assassin and train you how to do all these things, and you can just be with me. And she chooses that. So that's just what it's about. I have no idea other than that. And what I like is that the synopsis is very, very short. It says, on the day of her foretold death. So I guess with it being foretold, I guess it was a prophecy. A powerful mage offers her a new fate. Leave with him and live. Turn away from her destiny and her god to become a thief, a spy, an assassin, the wizard's loyal sword. Topple an empire and help him reclaim his seat of power. And then it says, but she will soon learn that gods don't forget. So it just seemed really, really interesting and a different kind of fantasy. Figured why not? I love the cover. Piera said it was good. I tend to agree with a lot of what Piera likes, so I picked it up. And on that vein, this was one of Murphy's favorite books that she read so far this year. Daniel Green also liked it. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and that's The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. So I got this one with that big group too, because I just had to have it. Pretty chunky book. Yeah, about 500 pages. It's fine. It's fine. I've heard this is a fantasy that's based in African lore, because I believe its own voices for the black representation, because I believe Evan Winters is a black man, but it's just supposed to be fantastic. I guess the African lore is really, really, really good. The dragons, I guess there's tons of dragons in here, which is great because you don't get dragons as often as you should. But I don't remember what else it's about. I know the main character had to make a choice. They all do in fantasy. I don't remember what it's about. I'm not going to read the flap. I just know there's dragons based on African fantasy, and it's an own voices. Or not African fantasy. It is an African fantasy based on African lore and its own voices. And it's adult. And dragons. Dragons is the most important part of that sentence. Or statement or blubbering. Dragons. And the last one was a book that I got the other day. And I mean, it blew up. I actually had a coworker ask me, oh, have you heard of Dr. I'm like, no, what the fuck? And then I literally got on Goodreads the next night and everybody was adding it. I'm like, what is this? So I clicked on it. I read the first line of the description, which says, a combination of steel magnolias or fried green tomatoes and Dracula. Sold. And that's the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. Now, Grady Hendrix is very popular on BookTube. He wrote My Best Friend's Exorcism, Horror Store, And what is the other one? It's got a red cover about a rock band, and it's got a guitar. We Sold Our Souls. That's it. Yes. And he also wrote, which I've read, Paperbacks from Hell, which is a big, thick, like a graphic novel that talks about all the old horror paperbacks from like the 70s and 80s. Fantastic. But yeah, this is his newest book. So this is literally about a book club in the Deep South. Does it say Charleston? Okay. So South Carolina. In the Deep South. In the 90s. And they have a book club. And I looked, there's spaces. So each space or each section of the book is a book that they're reading for book club. So, and it just gets more and more interesting. And it's hilarious just looking through it. So I guess there's this mysterious man who moves in across the street or next door or whatever, and people start disappearing, and he wants to join their book club, and they think he's a vampire, and so they're trying to kill him or trying to figure out what to do with him. It just sounds amazing. Like quirky, weird. Grady Hendrix writes horror that's like quirky horror. It's like different. It's not... Vicky, if you haven't heard of this yet, have you, am I just stupid and didn't notice that you've hauled this already? Because I know you liked My Best Friend's Exorcism. I need to ask you about it. I don't know why I haven't. But, oh my God, I'm so excited to read this one. Like, it ticks all my boxes. 90s, vampires, Southern, yeah. It's gonna be super gothic. It's gonna be super awesome. I had to get it. And my coworker has this in her cart, and she talked about how she had ordered a couple of books, and it said it's gonna be like 2 or 3 weeks to get here. I'm like, what? This came in 2 days. I had to have it. Couldn't not have it. Don't know when I'm gonna read it because of the owls. Maybe next month, because I probably won't get to it this month, but I'll probably read it in May. But this was a book I absolutely had to have. I need to read more Grady Hendrix. I need to read My Best Friend's Exorcism, and I need to read We Sold Our Souls. Yeah, that's the other one. We Sold Our Souls, because that one just seemed really interesting as well. Okay, guys, that's it. That is my little mini book haul. I should be done for now, because I have way too many books that I need to fucking read. But yeah, I'm done buying books for now. I've made another stack because my bookshelf is full, so now I've started making stacks again, which isn't healthy. Please let me know down in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Hanging in there, hanging in there. I just want this to be over soon. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. Please let me know. Check in. I want to hear from you guys. Make sure everybody's doing okay. Let me know if you've read anything good lately, because, you know, I could always use more books. I mean, I could. My husband says it's crack. It's not crack. It's just books. Could be a lot worse. But hopefully I'm going to try to vlog next week. I don't know. I'm having a hard time vlogging because when I get home, I just get lazy and tired and I don't read very much, or I read just a little bit. And I figure since we're not doing anything, it'd be pretty boring. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do an owls check-in. Oh no, I'll figure it out. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.